If you're learning the harmonica and you don't have a teacher and you're not making the kind of progress that you want to make, I think I know the reason why. Stay tuned to find out more. Hey guys, I'm Jonah Fox, your harmonica coach here at the Harmonica Revolution, and today I want to talk to you about the importance and value of recording yourself as a means of progression, as a way to get better. So I want to tell you a story here about how I came to this conclusion, and unfortunately it was a little painful for me, and I'm trying to help you avoid the same fate, okay? So when I was younger, when I was like 16 or so, I started playing guitar, and then I started singing around the same time. I had no proper vocal instruction, and honestly, I didn't really know what I was doing. And if you know the game Rock Band, that's how I learned to sing, okay? With following the little like up and down arrows to find the pitch. I didn't really know what I was doing, but man, I had the passion and motivation, which sometimes makes for a terrible singer, okay? And at some point when I went to college, I found a band, and we were a pop punk band, but we would play some like rock songs and stuff. And in general, I thought I did okay as a singer. I didn't really know. I mean, I wasn't properly trained, right? But I had passion and I had volume, and that's what I brought to the table. And we were trying to learn some songs. One of the songs that's, of course, not pop punk is Learning to Fly by Tom Petty. And if you're a singer, you'll know that your voice doesn't always work the same for every song. So I might have been able to sing some songs, pretty decently, but this one song, I was really, really bad at it. And I didn't know, which wouldn't have been a problem had we been, practicing in somebody's basement or whatever, but we weren't. So the situation was that we were doing our band practice in this one lecture hall that was in the middle of the undergraduate dorms. It was kind of an odd setup, but this lecture hall was taken over by the artists and musicians. Like there was art on the walls, and that's where all of those kind of people would come and hang out. And my band members and I, we would just be like, hey, this is a great place to play music. We don't have a space otherwise, so let's play here. And so I'd bring my guitar amp, and actually I'd bring two, one for my guitar and one for my vocals. And so we were playing loud in the middle of this lecture hall, and I didn't really think about it at the time, but really there was like thousands of people around me that could hear us play. And not a horrible thing if you're a well-trained musician, but as a total beginner, it was pretty rough. And if you are a singer, you'll notice that sometimes things just sound good in your head, but someone will tell you, hey, this wasn't right, or you should find a different key for this or something like that. And I had one of those moments. So there was a cafe on campus, and we were going there on a day that we weren't practicing. And there was this one guy who was, I remember he was wearing like a woman's biker jacket or something. It was very silly. He was a theater kid, okay? And he was complaining nonstop about me. He's like, there's this terrible singer who sets up in this lecture hall, and I can't stand him. I want to throttle him. He's so bad. He'll never amount to anything in music. He was just ripping into me. He didn't know I was there. I was like sitting like right next to him with a couple of my friends, and I was like shell-shocked. I mean, emotional damage. You know what I mean? And it hurt to hear that I was doing really terribly and that people really didn't like my playing. And who knows, like this might be the case for you and your harmonica. Like, I don't know your situation, right? But your wife or your kids or your friends, they might be like, hey, that guy's learning to play harmonica, but he really doesn't have it down yet, And that's okay. We all go through this period, hopefully without the emotional damage. But I'm trying to save you from that, because back then, if I just had the forethought to set up a camera and hit record, I wouldn't have gone through that, because I would have known that my singing wasn't good and I would have done something about it, okay? We can't fix what we don't know. It's hard to be aware of something if you're not recording yourself or you're not going to a lesson and being in front of a teacher and being like, okay, how is this sounding, and that's what I do as a teacher, okay? Like I hop on calls with people and I'll ask them to play something for me. A very common one that is good for this discussion is wah. So people will jump on a call and I'll say, hey, do some playing and focus on using your wah. And so I just want to listen to it. And very often, like 90% of the time when I work with people, their wah sounds like this. It's very like spastic, but it just doesn't sound like much of anything as compared to when you fully cup your harmonica really well, right? And then you go. There's a better way to do it. But these people that I'm working with, most of the time, they think their wah is fine. It's fine. I could do it. I learned how to do it. I watched a YouTube video. But in reality, it's not, okay? It sounds terrible, or it just is not adding anything to your playing. And if these people had set up a video before jumping on a call with me, they probably would have realized, hey, this wasn't very good. And then you have some options, okay? You can go watch some YouTube videos and try to understand what you're doing wrong. If you have a course, you could go and review what they have to say about that subject. And most of the time, you can fix these issues. And if you think about it, if you just start fixing all of your issues, eventually you're just going to get really good because you're not going to have any issues. Right? I have really found this to be incredibly beneficial in my music experience as a whole for multiple reasons, not even just fixing your problems necessarily. When you record yourself, number one, you're taking it more seriously because you're like, ooh, somebody's going to see it. Even if it's just you, okay, somebody's going to see it. And so you show up with a little bit more intentionality, a little bit more focus. And that's really good for your playing. If you haven't done that, it's a different part of your brain. I think of practicing and performing, and I will lump recording into the performance category, as pretty different things. Like if I'm just improvising on my own with I got a Bluetooth speaker or something and I'm playing, yeah, that's fine. That's good. But I'm kind of doing it casually, right? When I'm not doing it casually, when I have a camera in front of me or I'm in front of an audience, I focus more. I try harder, and that's a very different thing. You have to be more present when you know people are going to see it, even if that person is just you or your wife, okay? You record yourself with the camera on and just listen back to it. And that's the first thing that you should do before you think about, where you're going to put the video or whatever. You just listen back to it and you think like, is everything sounding okay? Are you doing the things that you want to do? And sometimes you just are making mistakes that you don't know until you hear them on a recording. As an example, I taught a lesson the other day, and I'm going to keep it anonymous, of course, where a student was, he'd been working on the major scale for months. He really wants to play like, popular songs and stuff. So that's mostly first position stuff. And I'm like, okay, play the first position major scale. All right. So he goes like this. And I'm like, no, you're not starting on the right note. Oh, okay. Nope, you're not starting on the right note. Oh, okay. Nope, that's not it either. Okay. Nope, you started on the right note, but you repeated something. Like these kind of things, you might not catch them unless you set a video camera up in front of yourself or you take a lesson with somebody. And I understand that not everybody can take lessons. Like it's expensive to work with a teacher week in and week out. I totally get that. I think it's very well worth it to get a lesson or to join a group program or something. Even taking a course where you have the ability to send in feedback or something. It's very important if you want to get better. But the reality is you can do this on your own, and the way that you do it is through recording yourself. So you watch your recording and you think like, am I doing things correctly? And if you're not, go learn how to do them better. Okay? You just be real. The camera doesn't lie. If something is bad when you're recording it, it's just bad, okay? The camera's not going to lie. It's going to show you where you're actually at. And sometimes we don't want to see that, and I get it, okay? When I was a bad singer, it's painful for me to get in front of the camera and sing something and be like, oh no, this is not the key for me. This is terrible. And I've had to go through this so many times. Like I've learned how to really be a recording artist. And in that process, I mean, I've done a lot of vocal takes and guitar takes, and I'm like, this sucked. It's not good. And I, listened to that, and I kind of gave myself, okay, this is probably what I'm doing wrong, and I tried to fix it, and eventually I get better, right? And it's this process of gradual refinement that really gets you there. Now, there's other things that could be your issue. Now, I don't know exactly for you. Maybe you're struggling with bends. For a lot of people, I think deep focus on scales will get you most of the way there, and that's why I really focus on that on my channel. And you can check out my free scale cheat sheet, link down below in the description, if you want to learn more about that. And those things are great. The learning and the practice is great, but you also need some time for self-reflection. And then, once you've made your video, okay, you can share it with people. And this doesn't have to be the world at large, okay? It could be showing it to your kids or showing it to your wife or your mom or whatever. It doesn't matter. It feels good to be like, look, I made something with this skill that I'm spending all this time and money on. I made something with it. It feels really good. And it has a bunch of other benefits, okay? Sometimes when I do these improvising videos, like I just put one out very recently, and, I listened back to that, and there were some cool riffs in there that I was hearing, like, something like that. And I played that in the song, and I'm like, ooh, that's good. I want to remember that, but I wouldn't have caught it had I not put a camera in front of me, hit record, and then reviewed the tape later and listened to it a bunch of times and be like, oh, that's a cool idea. I want to remember that, okay? The final benefit that recording has, and I think this is a really big one, is a benefit to your motivation. Not only do you see the video and you see yourself getting better day by day, week to week, depends on how often you record, obviously. Not only that, but you can share your video to places. You can post it on Facebook, on Modern Blues Harmonica, on Reddit, on our Harmonica. You can post it on Instagram with hashtags. That's what I did. When I was starting Harmonica, I wasn't doing much in my life. My arms were horribly painful. I got a nasty scar right there. Both of my arms were like dysfunctional, okay? And I had a couple years where all I did is I played harmonica and I made oil paintings. That's it, okay? And in those few years, at some point I was like, well, I remember recording myself as a guitarist and as a singer, so I'm going to record myself as a harmonica player. And I shared it to Instagram. And when I, only when I would make a good video, like one that was actually worth sharing, I would put it out on Instagram. And I did this for like a year and a half, something like that. And it was so motivating because I'd post it and I'd start actually getting like a following and people would be like, oh, that's so cool. And you don't realize, like, learning to play an instrument, especially a niche, rare one like harmonica, it's a really cool thing to do. Sometimes you need that encouragement. You need that motivation of showing up to an audience, or you need the encouragement of just putting it out there and people being like, this is cool. And then you're like, oh, I should do more of this because other people are enjoying it, not just me. So that's the lesson for today. If you want to improve your harmonica skills, one of the best things that you can do is to just grab a camera or your cell phone. You can get an external mic if you want the sound to be better, like the MV88 to be used on iPhones, or, like a proper camera with an external mic, like a Rode mic that I have right here, and just record yourself, see how it sounds. Maybe decide if you want to share it to somebody, someone in your family, maybe the internet at large, and you will find that your playing abilities will skyrocket. That's the lesson for today. I hope it was helpful. Watch this video. It's a good one, and I'll see you next time. Peace.